of the retired Supreme Court judge as the third governor of Andhra Pradesh among key appointments.
Justice Nazir, who retired as a judge of the Supreme Court earlier this year, it was on the 4th of January when he retired. He was a part of many landmark judgments, including the Triple Talaq case, the Ayodhya Babri Masjid dispute, the demonetization case, and a judgment which held that the right to privacy is a fundamental right. But that's not the debate tonight. The debate is about the trend to target judges and thereby the judiciary. And we debate that on the show tonight. That's the big debate this weekend. What's in an appointment? Is it politics over nothing, or is it deliberate insecurities being shown in comments made by political parties? Here are the headlines.
जजेस को गवर्नमेंट जॉब देना, गवर्नमेंट पोस्ट देना अनफॉर्चुनेट है। गगोई के बनने के बाद जस्टिस नजीर को गवर्नर बनाना उन लोगों के शक और शुबे को और मजबूत करता।
Vadra Congress attacks judiciary, raises questions on judges being appointed as the governors.
BJP hits back, calls our ecosystem for the usual tactic of targeting the judiciary, says they're offended by Justice Nazir's Ram Janmabhoomi judgment.
In a major rejig, President appoints new governors for 12 states and Lieutenant Governor for Ladakh.
ये ज़मीनें हमारी हैं, इन पे हक जम्मू कश्मीर के वासियों का रहने का है। इनको अगर ये लगता है कि हम ये 4 मरले 5 मरले खाली करके बाहर से किसी को लाएंगे और बिठाएंगे, हमने चूड़ियां नहीं पहनी।
Controversial statement in Jammu and Kashmir ahead of elections. Altaf Bukhari saying won't let outsiders settle down.
আমাদের দেশের যশস্বী স্বরাষ্ট্রমন্ত্রীকে বরণ
Power packed campaign by BJP in Tripura day after Prime Minister Amit Shah holds road show.
Operation Dost in full swing. India sending a 7th relief flight to earthquake-hit Turkey with a stopover in Damascus, Syria.
Now, this morning, the President of India made 13 appointments to the post of governor. Of the 13 appointments, Congress and other opposition parties have raised objection to one appointment, that of Justice Abdul Nazir, who has been named governor of Andhra Pradesh.
The opposition's contention is that this now retired Supreme Court judge gave the Ayodhya verdict in favor of the Hindu community. They've said it in as many words. Here's how the judiciary is being targeted again and again, and then the weekend debate.
On November 9, 2019, these 5 judges read the verdict and put an end to the decade-long Ayodhya battle. The man on the far right is Justice S. Abdul Nazir, who has now been appointed as the governor of Andhra Pradesh. The judge who gave India many landmark verdicts like abolition of Triple Talaq, demonetization and right to privacy is under Congress attack.
जजेस को गवर्नमेंट जॉब देना, गवर्नमेंट पोस्ट देना अनफॉर्चुनेट है। एक रिपोर्ट के मुताबिक 50% रिटायर्ड जजेस सुप्रीम कोर्ट के गवर्नमेंट कहीं ना कहीं उनको भेज देती है, जिससे लोगों का यकीन जुडिशरी पे कम होता चला जाता है। जस्टिस गगोई के बनने के बाद जस्टिस नजीर को गवर्नर बनाना उन लोगों के शक और शुबे को और मजबूत करता।
This is not the first time that Congress has led a smear campaign against judges. Justice Ranjan Gogoi came under similar attack when he was sworn in as Rajya Sabha MP.
I, Ranjan Gogoi, having been nominated a member of the Council of States, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India.
Justice Bobde has been targeted with the accusation that he has RSS links. And the trend has continued for Justice S. Abdul Nazir.
ये वही जज साहब हैं जिन्होंने अयोध्या की जो 5 जजेस की बेंच थी उसमें इनकी एक हिस्सा थे। वो जो उसका वर्जन आया था, जो उसका फैसला आया था, उसमें इन्होंने पॉजिटिव किया। और यही वो जज साहब हैं जिन्होंने नोटबंदी को भी जायज़ करार दिया। तो जो इन्होंने किया था उसका इनाम सरकार इनको देगी।
The BJP has slammed the ecosystem for targeting the judge. And the focus is back on how opposition has time and again attacked not just the judiciary but also institutions when decisions don't go in their favor.
9 साल आलोचना ने आरोपों में गंवा दिए जिन्होंने, सिवाय आरोप, गाली गलौज, कुछ भी बोल दो, इसके सिवाय कुछ नहीं किया। गलत आरोप। और हाल ये चुनाव हार जाओ, ईवीएम खराब, दे दो गाली। चुनाव हार जाओ, चुनाव आयोग को गाली दे दो। क्या तरीका है? अगर कोर्ट में फैसला पक्ष में नहीं आया तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट को गाली दे दो, उसकी आलोचना कर दो।
With constant attacks from the opposition, is there an attempt to create an environment of distrust against the institutions, further leading to chaos and anarchy? Is the attacks on institutions a part of a larger conspiracy? Let's debate.
And joining us on the weekend debate this evening are Amitabh Sinha, Senior Lawyer, Supreme Court; Justice A.N. Mittal, former judge in the Allahabad High Court, former chairman, UP Law Commission, live from Aligarh this evening. Deshratan Nigam is an advocate in the Supreme Court. Swapnil Kothari here in our studios in Mumbai is a senior lawyer from Mumbai. Justice B.A. Khan, former Chief Justice of the J&K Jammu and Kashmir High Court. He's live with us this evening. Amir Singh Pasreech, a senior officer at the International Bar Association, on the show this evening. Kapil Madan, advocate, political analyst, live from Delhi. Mrinalini Deshmukh, also in our studio, a lawyer from Mumbai, completes our panel. But I'd like to start this evening with Justice B.A. Khan. Justice Khan, good evening. I would like to get your thoughts on the appointment, whether you have a view on the appointment of Justice Nazir as a governor. Why don't you start, sir? I'd like to get your view on that first.
Now, per se, there is nothing wrong with an appointment of a judge to the position of a governor. It has happened earlier also. There are precedents. But the way, the manner, the clumsy manner in which this case has been handled has raised questions, has raised suspicions, because it has been so near to some important judgments to which this judge has been a party. See, independence of the judiciary is the basic structure of our constitution. Under our constitutional scheme, judiciary has to be independent and it has to be seen as independent. Government is a major litigant before our judiciary. And when such things happen, and these have been happening for the last few years, even previously also, one Chief Justice of India, Justice Gogoi, was offered a Rajya Sabha seat immediately after these landmark judgments. Now this thing is happening. Now this is undermining. You see, this is not necessarily that there is something bad, quid pro quo involved in it. But this is undermining the faith of the people in the judiciary when such things are handled this way. For example, if there was a cooling period given to it, 1 year after same appointment would have been made, it would not have been connected to the cases to which he has been a party. So that is one issue. The second issue is that an impression is created that judiciary or the judges in the judiciary are laying themselves prostrate for small crabs, and they are exposing their vulnerability, their weaknesses by doing so. There may be cases, for example, we have laws in which the appointment of a judge is necessary. For example, we have a Human Rights Commission, we have a National Consumer Commission, and so on and so forth. But beyond those statutory appointments, if the appointments of judges are to be made to constitutional positions like governor, there has to be some selection mechanism of it. This can't be a pick and choose because people see it that this judge favored the government in a judgment, therefore he is given this job, which is the general perception created by such handling of the matter. Now, what one would like, and we have been debating it for long, that there must be a mechanism that if the talent of the retired judges is to be utilized, then a pool of those judges must be formed and a criteria must be evolved, and on that criteria appointments must be made so that nobody has a complaint and so that there is no pick and choose. I may recall at this stage the words of Mr. Arun Jaitley. He was the opposition leader speaking in Rajya Sabha, and he was a lawyer before us, also a very illustrious lawyer. He was speaking on the appointment of judges bill, and he said that post-retirement assignments influence the pre-retirement judgments. And then he said that we are creating all avenues for appointing judges by this way or that way. Now that was the stand of Mr. Arun Jaitley that time. Now this is being put in practice now by his government. One judge is offered a Rajya Sabha seat, the other judge is offered a governorship seat, and both are, out of those 5 judges, may I tell you that 4 of them have been gainfully employed, and hardly within 2-3 months' time. What's happening? After all, people are looking at it, and we are talking so loud about the independence of judiciary. What independence of judiciary? Where government is a litigant, 80% cases of the government are pending before the judiciary, and our judges are falling like this. It may not be necessary, this is not to say, and I don't mean that there is any quid pro quo involved. But this gives an impression. Justice must appear to be done. It is not to be done only, it must appear to be done. Now, if you are conveying a message to the people, or if public get impression that this thing is happening, they lose faith in the judiciary and impinges on the independence of the judiciary and damages the judiciary. And therefore, if one judge's personal gain is damaging the institution as such. Now, therefore, my appeal would be to judges also and to government also. And there may be in all people even talk of saying that, look here, government is exposing these judges by offering them these things and they are falling for it. So, what I am saying is that for God's sake, both judges and the government, please evolve a mechanism. If you have to raise the retirement age of the judges so that this problem is tackled, please do that. But minus that, you have to evolve a mechanism and fix a criteria and avoid this pick and choose, so that this impression is not created that government is picking up people of his own choice because they have contributed some way or the other to their cause. That's all I have to say.
Justice Khan, if I can quickly, sir, you've been a Chief Justice in the Jammu and Kashmir High Court, and for you, you used a phrase, you said clumsy manner. You said the matter has been dealt with in a clumsy manner. Why do you feel that, sir? If quickly, in about 30 seconds, if you can sum up, I'll get Justice Mittal to respond to you.
Yeah, because it is so near to the landmark judgments to which this judge has been a party. That makes it clumsy.
Okay.
And that makes it suspicious. If it had not been that, if there was a time gap, it would not have been no eyebrows would have been raised. So that is why I say it is clumsy.
Okay, let Justice Mittal respond. Justice Mittal, do you want to respond to Justice Khan?
Yes. I intend to say that the judiciary is also an important pillar of the democracy. And basically this criticism came from the politicians. In my opinion, the politicians have the misconception that the post of governor is meant only for the politicians. No, I do not agree. Basically, the governor is required to know the constitution in depth, because there are various constitutional crises at various times. So the governor has to take the decision on those issues. So, in my opinion, the judiciary is not disqualified, the judges are not disqualified for being appointed to any post after the retirement. Certainly, I agree with Justice Khan that where there is requirement of appointment of judges in the statutory posts, they have to be done. They are being done. But with due regards, I do not agree with the criticism. It doesn't lower down the integrity of Justice Nazir. And one more thing, the politicians are criticizing. On the one way, the politicians say that Muslims are not being given their due. And on the other hand, if the BJP government is appointing a Muslim to be a governor of a state, then also criticism. So this criticism from Mr. Rashid Alvi, it is nothing but we are adding fire to their job. And Justice Nazir has given certainly various judgments, and he is not a judge for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. He had a long tenure. His knowledge must be utilized for a better post. That's why I fully agree with the government to appoint Justice Nazir as the governor. Basically, Muhammad Arif Khan, he is also Muslim. He has been appointed the governor of Kerala.
Justice Mittal.
Yes.
Yes, Justice Mittal, it's not about being a Muslim or a Hindu. It's not about religion. Now, let's open up the debate and let's look at it from a larger perspective. We're not just talking about today's incident where a particular judge is being targeted for his appointment as a governor. We're also talking about the attack on the judiciary that has taken place in the past by the opposition parties, and Amitabh Sinha can come in and maybe talk about that, on how repeatedly we've seen instances of attacks on judges, attacks on judiciary, attack on our institutions, whether it is the election commission or the post of governor. Is there a repeated pattern to these attacks? Maybe Amitabh Sinha can open up the debate now.
Thank you. First of all, I will just give my apologies because I couldn't hear what these two justices were giving in their opinion. But since you have asked me to start the debate, I will just put two very brief points. I will not take much of the time. See, in this situation, only one thing, as I know, a lawyer of the Supreme Court, I will tell you, that the interpretation of the constitutional arrangement should be very carefully monitored and analyzed. See, first of all, the precedents. As a lawyer, we always quote the precedents, and in precedents, if Congress is saying, Congress spokesperson and Congress people, Congress party in general, that this is violation of the seriousness and integrity of the judiciary, higher judiciary. What had happened in 1952, Justice Fazal Ali was made governor of Odisha, 1952, Jawaharlal Nehru. Then again 1958, Muhammad Karim Chagla was made, ambassador of United States after getting giving resignation from the High Court. So all these things are the precedences in this field. I am not saying that as of now that the precedences were and the present case is okay or not. On merit, I will try to put my point of view. But this is the precedence, and court of law decided by the president or presidents also. And now I am coming to the constitutionality and legality of this matter. These people, they are completely gone berserk because of the frustration of their continuous defeat. I am just trying to tell you, they have raised doubts upon Supreme Court, the Election Commission of India. Every constitutional body is doubtful in the eyes of this continuously getting defeat by the Congress party. And they initiated impeachment against the sitting Chief Justice of India also in 2018.
Yes.
And now the first point that whether governor is a political post. No, this is a complete bankruptcy by the government, Congress party, because governor is the custodian of constitution in the state. So, and the governor should not be taken as a political appointment. So, if the Justice of the Supreme Court is accepting the request or the system that he should join the executive as the governor, he is almost like getting the parallel responsibility, and he will become the custodian of the constitution in the state affairs. So saying all these things, I think, is completely absurd, and I don't think that any merit in the case of this Congress party, because Congress party is now becoming day by day frustrated, and moreover, it is not in the interest of the Congress party as a political party, because people of India are witnessing such type of absurd movements of the party, which was earlier the ruling party of the country. So ultimately, they are losing their brand equity. That is my point of view.
Yeah, any high stakes battle usually goes to the courts, and that's why there's a sense that political parties really get edgy when it comes to judges. They have a stand on judges. I want to get Mrinalini and Swapnil in the studio here. There's a precedence, Mrinalini, for example. There's a former Chief Justice of India, Justice Ranganath Mishra, was a Rajya Sabha MP, and then went on to head the 1984 anti-Sikh rights panel, right? So it's the same allegation, right? I mean, there's a precedent. So who is the Congress party to sort of preach, and why are they raising questions? Leave the politics aside. I want you to weigh in on this, and then I'll get Swapnil to respond to you.
Absolutely. So Niranjan, I'm definitely not going to get into the politics, because that is something alien to me. I'm just talking to you as a student of law and a lawyer, and what we've studied about the Constitution. You have to see the common man's faith in the Supreme Court. Today, the common man looks at the Supreme Court as a temple of justice, where I will be getting. We cannot shake that faith in the judiciary. Now, it is too much of a coincidence, and I do not want to attribute any quid pro quo allegations, anything, because Justice Abdul Nazir has been one of the finest judges, and I can say that with a lot of authority because I've appeared before, one of the finest judges of the Supreme Court of India. So there is absolutely above par in every which way, with his wisdom and his judicial, understanding of the situation, very sensitive and very, very humane. So, I mean, with the greatest respects to him, I think we are on the principle, and the principle is that it is too close to the comfort of a common man, and it is too close for the discomfort of even lawyers like us when there is separation of powers, and when there is supposed to be the judiciary is the citadel and is the final thing where people look up to with a lot of faith. There is politics in executive, there is politics in legislation, because that's what the Constitution says. But when it comes to the judiciary, we need to be, Caesar's wife, as they say, has to be above suspicion. Now, when you say that, it means a lot to a common man to understand, because this is what gives a lot of discomfort. And as Justice Khan earlier said, if I have to get into it, one of the finest lawyers that we had, and who is no longer there, Mr. Jaitley, has himself been so very vocal about it. And when Mr. Jaitley says that, it comes with a lot of wisdom, a lot of belief in the judiciary, in the constitutional principle. So I think somewhere there have been precedents. I'm no one to question whether those precedents were right or wrong, but then you do also have to see whether it is proper, appropriate in the given set of circumstances. It is not about attacking judiciary. It is not about doing this. It is just about reposing the faith of a common man in the highest court, the apex court, whom it looks up to as a temple and citadel of justice. I think that's where the sensitivity has to come into, in the backdrop of the constitutional setup that we have, where we have separation of powers and complete independence to the judiciary. Today we have judiciary, today we have executive, which is talking about the collegium system, etc. I'm not getting into it. The point here is we need to look at judiciary with a lot of respect and give them that kind of thing that is required. I think that's my view on it.
Yeah.
Swapnil, would you like to counter to that? Because there were some points that are made, but we cannot isolate the politics of it as well. Do you want to counter to what Nalini has said?
Yes, actually, Sanika, the point is very simple here. That we do see a little bit of a slugfest between the executive and the judiciary that was envisaged by our founding fathers. But to the extent that it has gone to the past couple of months, especially by the law minister and then by the vice president, and then you have this Congress spokesperson talking about it. These are all frontal attacks on the judiciary. This is in fact undermining the judiciary, the independence of the judiciary, much more than any of these appointments to governorship positions which has been happening since 1950. And approximately 45 to 50 such positions have been occupied, not only as the governor, but at political posts have been occupied by the Supreme Court judges or even some other judges of other high courts. Now the point is, Sanika, that this reminds me of a very simple debate which took place 400 years ago when John Locke, the English philosopher, spoke about the primacy of the legislature. And then we had Baron de Montesquieu, the French philosopher, political philosopher. These were two giants in their field who emphasized upon the separation of the powers and who said that the judiciary played the most important role. And by the features of our constitution, it is the legislature that makes the law, the executive that enforces the law, and the judiciary that reviews the law. Now, what is wrong if Mr. Justice Abdul Nazir has been appointed as a governor? A governor is a constitutional post. He is the custodian of the constitution, and in fact, there is no better person than a Supreme Court judge who has given these landmark judgments, which were pointed out by you at the start of the debate, to be appointed as the governor, Sanika. And it's very important. I do not see that there is a difference between it has to be a cooling period, 1 year to a 2 year period. Nowhere does Article 124 of the Constitution prescribe that. It merely says that a retired Supreme Court judge shall not argue before any other courts of law. That's all it says. It doesn't say that there has to be some sort of a cooling period. There cannot be a political appointment, any of those things. Let me tell you, if people who want to criticize something, they can criticize even after 5 years, saying that this was something which was prearranged 5 years ago. So there is no way that you can stop tongues wagging. My simple point is that if you really want to address this issue is going to take place one after the other. You're going to have BJP, you're going to have any government appointing people at constitutional positions. A very simple point has been raised by Justice R.M. Lodha, if my memory serves me right, very clearly said that if the retiring judge wants to serve as a pensioner, then he cannot take up any government post. If he wants to continue the the continuing salary, then he's got to be aware of this and he has to state his name on the panel. Now the point is that the best way, in my opinion, is that today the age of retirement for a Supreme Court judge is 65 years of age. I think we need to increase that. That is the simplest rule that you can follow. Give them time up till 72, 70 years of age. That will solve this problem halfway, in fact, if not fully. Because I do not trust any of the governments, especially the Congress government, when it comes to criticizing the judiciary. In fact, one of my previous panelists pointed out that there was an impeachment, Niranjan. Now, that impeachment was not something without political hues. All of these things, these attacks that you see by Mr. Rashid Dalvi are littered, or should I say, have a complete political hue to this, saying that this is not proper, that is not proper. I do not see any reason. Are you trying to impute motives to Justice Nazir, saying that he passed certain judgments because he was given this position, he was promised this position? The answer is absolutely no. If we are saying that the man is above board, the man was above board. There is no question about that. The independence of the judiciary, yes, it must be seen to be done. It is extremely important, but this appointment cannot be the cause for that, or it cannot be a spoke in the wheel for that. This is in fact a good thing that you are doing, that you are bringing in a retired Supreme Court judge with his wisdom and integrity to appoint him as a governor of a particular state.
You see, you look at some of the judgments given, right? I'll bring in Deshratha Nigam and Kapil at this point. Kapil, I know you want to come in. Okay, Kapil, let me take this. Let me ask you the question, and Deshratha Nigam can come in. Because I want to also go back to Justice Khan after that. Kapil, to you, right? So, in triple talaq case, for example, Justice Nazir dissented to hold the practice as valid. Okay? But in Ayodhya Babri Masjid dispute, he was part of the verdict allowing the construction of the mandir. Today, when your party says that his decision is still under cloud, right? You're questioning the Supreme Court. And your party has a habit of targeting Supreme Court judges and the judiciary especially.
Now, Niranjan, I will not deviate the discussion, and I will like to, reserve my comment on any particular judgment passed by any judge.
But how do you give? Kapil, how do you give statements in public? How does your party give statements in public in official capacity and then in debate say I won't take names?
Naranjan, I am the student of law, as a responsible lawyer. I will answer the larger question without commenting upon, the judgment passed by any particular judge. And I would just, like to state here, I totally agree with. I was very patiently hearing Justice Kant's from Jammu and Kashmir High Court, and I totally agree with him. I mean, what we need to do, this is the need of an hour, to ensure that the perception of independence of judiciary does not get dented. Now, we don't see this situation in isolation. Now, look at what is happening from the 4-5 months. We have a situation where the law minister is writing continuously against the collegium system. We also saw a situation where 4 sitting Supreme Court judges were forced to do a press conference. Now, what should we do to ensure that the impartiality and the independence of the judiciary is preserved? And I totally agree with Justice Kant here. In fact, Mr. Jaitley also made a remark publicly that pre-retirement judgments are influenced by the post-retirement opportunities. And the government should come up and form a mechanism to ensure that the independence of judiciary is not dented. The public perception qua the independence of judiciary is not dented. That's I think that, preserving the judiciary is the most important thing to preserve the democracy.
Okay. You want to come in?
Deshadan Nigam, would you like to counter to what Kapil Madan has said?
Yes, absolutely, Sanika and Niranjan. Let me point out there is a lot of state of flux and confusion out here. One is that Justice Nazir is joining one constitutional post by leaving another constitutional post. It's not a government post as somebody said it. Neither it's any statutory post, it's a constitutional post. And a person with huge amount of experience is being appointed there. Now, secondly, the another confusion is that they consider government as a political party, some political party. It is an executive recognized by the constitution. So if a judge passes a judgment in favor of a particular political party, then we may have a problem, we may discuss that. But if judgment government is there and 80% of litigation is by the government, you cannot raise that point of favoring any political party. This was not favoring any political party. Now some parties have a problem and they have been raising, whether it was Pegasus or Rafael, they did point fingers, and even the apology had to be given by the tall leader of the Congress in the Supreme Court. And that is probably something that still stings them. And Justice Abdul Nazir, if you look at his track record, he's an Indian first and then his religion comes. He's been very clear. In fact, he made a statement saying that ignoring great Indian legal giants from ancient India like Manu and Kautilya is doing great disservice to the nation. And that's quite detrimental if you only follow Western values. And constitution can be upheld by following the great, ancient values and the legal jurisprudence that we have. And you also know he has a Z plus security because Islamist PFI terrorist organization has been giving him threats, and he still has Z plus security. And just because he passed a Ram Mandir judgment, let me tell you, anybody who has read a Ram Mandir judgment, even the Allahabad High Court judgment, anybody who has read it, it's a beautifully written judgment. And it is a judge is supposed to pass a judgment on the basis of evidence, facts, and proven evidence and facts on record. He does not pass a judgment on the basis of whims and fancies. The two judges are on the panel, and they can, I'm sure they will vouch for that. To relate that two things is, I think, is erroneous and fallacious. And secondly, 2019, prior to the election, the judgment was passed. And I'm sure Justice Nazir would not have known in 2023 that he would be made the governor. So to impute all kind of motives is, I think, reading too much. And it is also embarrassing for these political parties who destroyed judiciary in, emergency, or the appointment of Barul Islam. When he was MP, he was made to resign, then appointed the High Court judge when he retired, and then again he was made the Supreme Court judge. So let's not create those examples. This is a fair and square game where a person with very deep knowledge of law and deeply rooted in Indian nation, civilization and culture has been appointed, and I am sure he'll uphold constitutional values. And let's not undermine his appointment. It's a constitutional appointment, and constitutional appointments, especially nowadays, have been seeing the role of governor is coming into question time and again. It's been challenged in courts of law, and I am sure the decisions he will take will benefit both the legal jurisprudence so far as the role of governor is concerned.
Yeah, Niranjan, I'll just take 30 seconds to respond.
Quickly, I want Mr. Pasrich to come in. He hasn't spoken. Yes.
Now, Mr. Niranjan made a remark that Justice Nazeem is joining one constitutional post to the other. At the same time, he also recognized the fact that it is not the political appointment; it is the executive recognized by the Constitution of India. Now, I think the argument of Mr. Nigam is mutually destructive because he forgets the fact that in our Constitution, judiciary and executive are a different role. And the fact that a sitting judge takes the bridge and crosses over and takes the roles of an executive,
You yourself have answered after retirement.
That's exactly what when I was hearing
yourself have answered that question.
Mr. Nigam, please, I was not interrupting. Please don't. We don't interrupt each other. As a lawyer, please don't. Now, it is mutually destructive. Now, the fact that he admits that a person from judiciary goes and takes the role of an executive, that's the reason good enough to question the impartiality and how would we ensure the independence of judiciary. That's exactly the problem mentioned by Justice Kant also.
Okay, I want to go. I'll get in Mr. Pasrich in here, and I want to go back to Justice Khan. Justice Khan has also been, sitting patiently. Thank you, first of all, Justice Khan, for just waiting with us. I'm just coming to you, sir. Can I get in Mr. Pasrich? Mr. Pasrich, just for example, right? Yesterday, the Supreme Court, while hearing the case, the petitions on the Adani issue, for example, said that they were mulling whether there should be a panel to look into the entire matter to secure the interest of investors. And one of the suggestions that the court also made is why not have a retired judge maybe look into it, right? I'm just giving a hypothetical situation where there's a retired judge heading this panel that looks at interest of investors. And I'm just saying, for example, it doesn't go against, it doesn't go in the interest of what Kapil Madan, for example, he's from the Congress party, but he's also an advocate, right? So the Supreme Court also, we speak of a cooling period, but I think it is common practice, right? Judges take up roles. It's common. It happens all the time. So what's the big problem?
That's the appointment of Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has said, Niranjan, that there should be a retired judge.
I think the answer...
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Pasrich. And then I'll get Mrinalini after that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think the answer to this lies in divorcing politics from this appointment. First, if you divorce the two and you consider whether you're taking a judge from not from the judiciary anymore, he's left judicial appointment, he's now a private person, there's nothing unconstitutional about him being a governor or being any member of parliament, etc. So the question is there a problem? You pointed it out perfectly. If you take people who are trained to be judges and they can be appointed for commissions, they can be heads of tribunals, where we have several statutes that call for Supreme Court judges, we're actually draining the system of judicial officers. And that is the only problem. I don't think we attribute any motives to this judge. I don't think he's a bad judge or in any way somebody connected with the government. I think the real fact is there's a great shortage of judicial talent that you can't necessarily equalize by taking them into governorships and parliament. We have enough lawmakers, we have enough government servants, we should appoint them. We have even army officers who can become governors. I think that judges are in great demand, even as arbitrators. That's my job. I mean, I work with commercial arbitration, and I find that we have a very great paucity of judges available for arbitration. So if you start moving them into governorships, we're going to have a greater shortage. And you have to listen to Justice Khan and Justice Mittal together. Both made valid points. In both their views, there is nothing necessarily against his appointment. That's absolutely constitutionally correct. There's nothing against the facts. And on the other side, as far as Justice Khan was concerned, he pointed out the separation of powers. Do we maintain a separation of powers after the judge has demitted office? To us, that's a matter of perception. If there's a perception of separation of powers and it continues after the office, we should maintain it to that extent. Put them into commissions, put them into tribunals, put them into arbitration. I think that's a basic funda. I don't think it's really about political issues here.
But it's become political, right? It's become political, right? Justice Khan, you heard everyone. You want to respond to it. You spoke of a cooling period. I mean, it's been happening for decades. I mean, we spoke of precedent from 1950s, right? When judges, including from the Supreme Court, have gone on to take up roles. Some political. Justice Khan.
No, when I was pointing to the cooling period, I was wanting to drive home that the conflict of interest which lies at the root of the matter, that gets diluted by the lapse of the time. So after 2 years, if this appointment would have been made, nobody would have said that Justice Nasir was sitting on the bench in this case, and he has been favored for that. The question is, on what basis you are picking up the man? What is the criteria? And why him only? You have 10 people available, including me. On what basis are you doing this? And how are people taking it?
Now the pain has come out.
Amitabh Sinha.
Question is, how people are taking it? People are taking it on a suspicion.
Justice Khan,
that this honorable judge has been favored, and a benefit has been conferred on him. Now, if that is the impression, that impacts the independence of the judiciary. If a common man believes that my court is not going to do justice with me because tomorrow this judge will be picked up for such and such job,
I think
is that not impacting the independence of the judiciary?
Yes. Strong disagreements.
It's not a question of after retirement separation of powers.
Right.
Separation of powers is maintain the independence of judiciary, and you can maintain that only. Judicial functioning has certain constraints. Judicial functioning has certain limitations. I am not a bureaucrat.
Yes.
I can't do the same thing which the bureaucrats do.
Yes.
I have to do things with certain limitation. Now, those limitations are to be enforced, those are to be maintained.
Yes,
now, if I let myself loose and make available myself to the government's any bidding, then I can't be an independent judge. It's that simple.
I think
that if I can't be an independent judge, there will not be an independence of judiciary.
Right. I think I've got the point.
We have to look at from the people's point of view. The whole judiciary.
I think I've got the point.
On what?
Yes,
not running
Niranjan.
on any gun or any army.
Yeah, Niranjan, I think.
on people's faith.
Niranjan, I think.
People's faith is shaken by these kinds of acts. You told me, why are you calling it clumsy? I forgot to tell you that it is brazen also.
Yeah, a lot of disagreements. If I can quickly get into 2 or 3 panelists disagreeing with you very strongly there. I'm just getting Swapnil first up, and then I saw Amitabh Sinha.
Now, I think the apprehension pointed out by Mr. Justice Khan is a little grave that he's trying to portray. He's saying that what will the people think? I think we have, or what will be the common man think? I think we have got 125 crore common men in this country, and I think everyone will have a separate view on this, if at all they have a view on whether some justice has been appointed as a governor.
So I think that perception or that apprehension should not be too much of a problem for any of these appointments to a constitutional position or a political position. Now, there is one point that I disagree with Mr. Nigam here on one of the things, is that he views this only as a constitutional post. He does not view it as a political post. Now, I think Mr. Nigam would agree with me on this, that since he and I have been on several debates, that yes, a governor's position is a constitutional position, but definitely the governor is an appointee of the government in question. Now, so there is no, you cannot say that this is only a constitution. Likewise, even the Prime Minister's position is a constitutional post, so is the President's position a constitutional post. Every post in this country, including that of the UPSC or even the PSC, is that of a constitutional post, because everything is prescribed by our great constitution that is so elaborate. So, one of the things, one of the reservations that was there is that whether these people would be able to act independently or not. I think they have post-retired, they have demitted office. I don't think they've got to do anything back to do with the judiciary. Yes, as long as they, function within the contours of the constitution, they carry out their duties, I don't see any problem at all. And a cooling period is only a mask. It's only a mirage, because a cooling period can be of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. If I want to raise objections, if I'm a particular party, and if I do not want the judiciary, and if I want to show, especially Niranjan, that I want to show that there is some sort of a friction between the existing government and the judiciary, then I will point out flaws, and I will point out things which have happened even 15 years ago or 16 years ago, or even in 2014 or even in 2019, because there is a certain Prime Minister whom we do not like. So that is why we want to show, we want to destroy every constitutional position that is there, or every important government position that has taken place, or everything that the judiciary does, because it is the signal service which has been rendered by the judiciary in the past 3 or 4 years, which I think we have not seen. Great landmark judgments.
Is it about that?
Great landmark judgments.
Is it simply about that?
Absolutely, it is attack. It's a frontal attack on the judiciary.
Why do you disagree?
Confusing politics and all. We are on a very
politics is at the base of it.
It's a constitution. Every political party has a right to express his view, whatever they want. As I said when I started my thing, that it has nothing to, for me, I'm a student of law, I'm a lawyer, and I believe that this is what the constitution says. Now, everybody has said that the appointment is by the executive. So nobody is questioning that it's a constitutional post that the governor holds. I can also say that Justice Nazir would be probably one of the best persons to rule over it. But we are not about individuals. We are on the principle. And these are the constitutional principles which guide us. Today for us, the Bible, the Quran, the Gita is the constitution of India.
Yes, but why do we have to put in an amendment? Why do we have to put in an amendment or a provision in the constitution when it is not there? Then bring an amendment to that.
No, Swapnil, the point here is that we need to follow the constitutional principles.
Correct. So follow it. We are doing that.
Whatever the faith that that we repose in the constitution and the judiciary, which is one of the most important pillar of the constitution of India. And that's what the point is. We are not on the politics, whether it's A party, B party, we are not on that. This is the only thing that I would like to add. And whatever you would like to say about a prime minister, a political party, a opposition party has nothing to do with the discussion here. Let's keep our discussions to the constitutional principles and the rights that are enshrined in that, and the values of the constitution. The values of the constitution, we need to uphold that. That's all that I'm saying.
Yes, Nirani, I fully agree with you that, but you cannot divorce the political comments and the past 3 months of what is happening. You cannot view this from only from a constitutional prism or 124 prism. You have to. I'll just finish in 30 seconds, Mr. Nigam, please. So my short point is that there is no prescription, or should I say proscription, in the constitution against somebody being appointed as a governor. So why do we read that proscription? If you want that proscription, if you feel that really the independence of the judiciary is being attacked, or if you really feel that Mr. Khan is making a point which we have to deliberate over and really mull over, that there has to be a cooling period, then let there be an amendment to that effect, saying that yes, there has to be a cooling period, or there should not be per se no appointment to a governor's position or any post by a Supreme Court judge, or for that matter, let's prescribe for that. Other than that, we have to follow the collegium system even if we don't like it. Other than that, we have to follow the position that yes, Supreme Court judges can be appointed as governors, which is happening since 1950. 50, 60 positions have been taken place myself. So we are nobody to right now do this and say that,
Yes.
oh, by the way, this is not working.
Swapnil, we saw Deshratan Nigam trying to make a point. Let's go to Mr. Nigam. What would you like to add?
May I say something, Niranjan?
Yes, Amitabh.
Yes. Continuously trying to.
Yes, please come in, Mr. Sinha. 30 seconds to Deshratan and you come in.
Is the power and the authority to appoint judges and all appointments, whether it is CBI, ED. We don't call them political appointments. These are appointments by elected executive. We should not use the word political appointments because then the entire bureaucratic appointments, chief election commission's appointment will all become political. We have to see whether it is merit-based or not. It is merit-based and we have to look at case-by-case basis. We cannot have general criticism. Yes, if a judge has given say there is a fight between Congress and the BJP, there is a case in the court and a particular judge favors BJP or say example for Congress, and then that particular party appoints him a judge, there I would strongly oppose it. This is not that kind of a case. So we have to look at case by case basis, and this particular case, can anybody deny that it is a merit-based appointment? And not a political appointment?
Bringing in Amitabh Sinha, 30 seconds and I have to end the debate.
Yeah. See, first I have heard twice or thrice later Mr. Arun Jaitley's name in this debate by this Congress, people. See, Arun Jaitley also wanted NJSC, and that's why unanimous decision was there, but it was not there. So Arun, don't quote Arun Jaitley now. Now I am coming to the point. See, this case particularly is directly driven by a frustration. By a complete frustration by the opposition parties, because there is no constitutional, provision for estoppel of such type of appointments. So, and for every small or big issue, Congress party immediately approaches the Supreme Court. Why Congress party is not approaching Supreme Court that this appointment should be called void? Yeah. So they know that this is not possible. So they are unnecessarily making hue and cry. That is their frustration and nothing more, nothing less. And if they don't have faith in the Constitution, they should say that we are anarchists.
I think in the absence of an amendment or rule on this, it leaves unfortunately the judges or retired judges to such political scrutiny and criticism. I just wanted to end by making one point and hand it over to my colleague Sanika. Lieutenant General Kaivalya Trivikram Parnaik is now the governor of Arunachal Pradesh. Can you argue, because he's a veteran, won't his experience come to use in Arunachal Pradesh? I mean, you can argue that, right? And also consider this Brigadier B.D. Mishra, governor of Ladakh. As a veteran, won't his experience and domain experience over the years come to help in Ladakh? Just a question. And what's wrong with that? On that note, I'd like to...
Yes, they're not judges.
They're not judges, but I'm saying that
but they have expertise in a certain field and they
are not Supreme Court judges. That's the difference. And that's
what has happened is...
That's different.
That's different,
Yes.
Now, I was talking because somebody mentioned other judges, so I just want to bring in those 2 points as well. Sanika, over to you.
So we have to wrap up right now because due to lack of time. But
judiciary is something different. No?
Yes, Justice. Just bring in all points of view.
Yes, and we've taken in all points of view on record this evening. But what we cannot sort of isolate or cannot ignore is that there has been a political attack.
Exactly.
This is a political issue that is being made. Raised by certain politicians.
Yes.
And I'm sure, let's see how this controversy pans out in the coming days with a particular judge being targeted for his ruling. Cannot forget, for his ruling that was made 4 years back.
Exactly.
4 years back.
Exactly. That's the point.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all our panelists joining us on this weekend debate this evening.
Headlines continue. Yes. Thanks for watching.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 10 years, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Odisha. 4 Russian tourists, 1 hotel in Raigada, and 2 mysterious deaths. The inside story. Bittu Roy Chaudhary and Priyanka Sharma uncovered the story of Russians in Raigada. Russians in Raigada, Republic Originals, only on Republic.
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बोर्ड, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Four Russian tourists, one hotel in Raigada, and two mysterious deaths.